Hey guys, Terry Red here, and in this video we are going to be talking about my Future Pinball and BAM Essentials all-in-one package. What will this thing do? It will basically help us to get Future Pinball and BAM installed or get BAM updated and get you all set up with everything you need all in one go. Super easy. It doesn't matter what kind of setup you have. If you are doing a brand new Future Pinball and BAM install, you've never had it before, this applies to you. If you're just updating a pre-existing install because you don't have the latest BAM, this applies to you. If you use something like, say, Baller Installer, and you want to make sure you're on the latest updates because that Terry Red is releasing some new damn table that requires new updated files. Well, this is going to apply to you. Everyone who wants to use Future Pinball and BAM, this applies to you. You're going to go through this process no matter what to make sure you have the updated BAM and the updated essentials installed afterward, and it's super easy. I made it very easy for you guys, and it will be the same for everyone, making it consistent and easy. So it's going to be no problem, guys. So all you're going to do is you're going to be downloading a few things, and then you're just going to be following my steps on here in order. That's very important. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to download my Future Pinball and BAM Essentials all-in-one package file. I'm going to include links for all this stuff in the description, so you can go to one of those and download it. I've already downloaded the files. I'm going to save time for the video. And then you're going to download the Future Pinball and BAM 2-in-1 installer. So you'll get that from here on Ravarcade's website. So you're going to get this one. I don't care if you're updating BAM. We're just going to do it the same for everyone. That way there's no question whether you guys have the correct files or not. So you're going to download this file here. This always includes the newest BAM update when you downloaded the file. So if you download this file today, and let's say a year from now, well, you need a new BAM update, well, you need to come back here and re-download it again, because that will include the newer BAM update in the 2-in-1 installer. So it's important that you always get the newest version of these files. And then you're also going to need, based on what this tells us that we need, which is these things right here, you are going to be also getting the Visual C++ runtimes. Everyone needs these files because lots of programs need them. Lots of old programs need them. New programs need them. So just go here, get the whole thing. You can download it from here. It'll be super easy. It installs it all in one shot, no problem. All right. So now what are we going to be doing? Well, we're going to be installing, first of all, the Visual C++, then the Future Pinball and BAM, the 2-in-1 installer, and then when we install this Essentials package, it's going to install all of these lovely things. It's going to, get Future Pinball and BAM already pre-patched for 4 GB access. It's going to have our PhysX 1K ball model that we need. We're going to install the BAM settings files afterward. And then you're going to have the easy preset settings for setting Future Pinball settings automatically. So that way you're going to have the right settings that I recommend that are required. They're not an option. They're required. And then you'll have like pictures of those same settings for easy reference just in case. The 4 GB patcher is there just in case you need it. You're going to have the newest version of DMDX for anyone who needs to mirror Future Pinball's DMD to a real DMD or another monitor in like a cabinet setup. Like, because pin event light tables, for example, won't have any PUP DMD or videos or text or anything like that. So for those tables, you're going to have to use this, on a cabinet setup, right? No matter what setup you have. And then we're going to install the scripts folders with all the latest files, like the pin event V2 settings, Dofflink's VBS, and Smoke's ball rolling. Those are used for lots of tables. And then you're going to have my handy guides, my Future Pinball BAM Mega Guide, my Pin Event V2 guide, and of course I'm going to include my, the all-in-one example table in the tutorial that I made that adds PhysX, Fleep, Pup SSF, ball rolling, and DOF. And that table was, put together by Jay Lou and myself there. And, you'll get all that stuff installed. What this will not install is the entire Future Pinball BAM files. That's what we're going to do in this tutorial here. You have to download and install those first. It will not do pinup player or DUF or DOF links. Those are separate. You'll do those on your own, or if you already have them with Baller Installer, the guides will cover all that. And it will not install the DMDX files that are used for visual pinball. We're only installing the files we're using for Future Pinball, and they're going in the Future Pinball folder. Okay, so it's important that you guys understand that. The reason why is we want to keep that stuff separate. So that way, if there's any VPIM MAME updates or anything like that, you don't have to worry about your settings files possibly getting overwritten, or if there's issues with the Future Pinball DMDX, EXE, needing to be different than what the other ones are using. It just keeps it easier and consistent, and that way that you have your Future Pinball stuff separate, and then that way you can, mess around with what you want for visual pinball or pinball effects or whatever separately, right? It's just going to be easier in the long run. And this will not replace your settings for Future Pinball, BAM, or DMDX by installing this package, but it shows you what you can do to update them if you want. And we're going to do that in this video. All right, so now that I've gone through all that, and you've downloaded all 3 files, so what you're going to do first is you're going to go here and you're going to install your Visual C runtimes. Doesn't take long. It's super quick. We just extract it all to its own folder, and then we right-click, Run as Administrator. And then we say yes, and then it's going to automatically go through and install all these packages for us. So it doesn't normally take too long, and actually, it's waiting for my one of my hard drives to spin up here because they were turned off. So there we go. Now it's going. It normally doesn't take long at the beginning there. It's just because I have an external hard drive that went to sleep, and I had to wait for that to wake up. And there you go. All set up and ready to go. It doesn't take long at all. So now that that's done, the next thing I recommend doing is before installing Future Pinball BAM, I recommend extracting our Essentials files to their own folder like we just did for the runtimes. And then what you're going to see is you're going to see all these files in here. All right, we are going to be copying these over afterward. But what I recommend doing is taking a look at the Future Pinball and BAM Mega Guide. That's already in there. And what you'll have here is you'll have basically, a step-by-step guide that's going to do the same thing we're doing in these videos, right? It has a table of contents, and it gives you a summary of all the details you need. And then these steps that it's showing here is basically what we're doing in this video. It's basically, oh, I didn't want that. It's basically the same thing, So it's telling you the Visual C runtime. Make sure that's good. Your DPI text scaling should be set to 100, so they mean, in Windows display settings. Now, I have mine at 200 currently because of this video. I'm doing it in 4K and all that, but normally you want to set that to 100 when you are actually set up in your cabinet or anything else. And the screen layout, what it's talking about here. So if you have like multiple screens, you want to make sure that your playfield is on the left and set as the main display. And you want to make sure that if you have a backlash screen, it's to the right of your playfield and lined up on the top. It has to be like that if you're using a multi-screen setup, or Future Pinball won't like that, and it'll confuse things and it will not work. All right? Make sure your GPU drivers and everything else are up to date. Windows Defender antivirus may need an exception added for Future Pinball's folder if it's super picky. That's it totally depends on your setup. So we'll have to wait and see about that. So now it's telling you here in step 2 that you can install the Future Pinball BAM installer. Now, if you're not sure what version of BAM you have, it shows you how to check on here as well. So if you already have an install up and going, this is how you can check your BAM to see if you need an update or not, based on what is recommended by new tables that you download. All right, and it's going to go through, different ways you can update, and it's also telling you that we're going to install the Future Pinball BAM Essentials, and then we're going to go through that process, and then we're going to install our band settings files afterward, right? So I just wanted to show you that because, it's basically the same thing that we're doing in this video, all right? All right, so now that we've done that, just to give you an idea about the guide that you can use now. So now we're going to install Future Pinball and BAM. Now, if this is a new install or you are just updating BAM, it's going to be the same for everyone. I'm doing it this way. That way it's consistent, it's easier, and I can show you, some of the issues you may run into if you're not paying attention when you use this. So I already have a baller installer set up from prior. That's why it's showing this going to that folder. I don't care if you have a new install or if you're updating. Every single person has to manually choose their folder path. That way you know for sure it's going exactly where you want. So what I recommend doing is clicking Browse. In my case, it's going to the C drive. Now you notice it's trying to add Future Pinball at the end with a space in there. So I'm going to look for there it is, my previous install from Baller Installer. And there we go. We already have that going in there. And I'm going to remove that space just because that's how Baller Installer installs it. And then that's it. That should be good. And you can just leave everything as is. You don't have to change anything. You can enable this if you want the extra textures for the balls. It's up to you. You can change those while you're playing games. It's totally up to you if you want those. They're not required. And then you can install a shortcut if you want. So this is a new install. There's no folder in there at all whatsoever, right? So now it's all installed. We're not going to launch BAM. Now I'm just going to show you really quick now let's say you wanted to update Future Pinball and BAM and you already had it installed, which we just did, right? So you would just do the same thing, if you were only needing to update. So you'll just go through the same process, but this time, watch what's going to happen. When I try going to the V Pinball folder, right, we have a folder in there, and if I want to choose, I want to choose to install it into my Future Pinball folder. Well, look what it does. It tries to add that extra folder at the end with the space. So what you do is you remove that and make sure it's only installing into your Future Pinball install folder. All right? And double check it here. Make sure it's absolutely correct, and then you just go ahead and install it like normal. Excuse me. And there we go. And we're not going to launch BAM because we're going to install our extra files. All right. So there you go. We have Future Pinball and BAM installed. And for those of you who need to update BAM, you've got that installed as well. So now we're going to go to our V Pinball folder. And you can see we have Future Pinball on here. Now this is a bare bones install because this is like a new install, right? There's little to nothing in there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to copy over our essentials files. The all-in-one essentials files that you downloaded. You're going to select all of them, and you're going to copy them over into the Future Pinball folder. Now, it's only 2 files it's replacing right now, but depending on your setup, you may be replacing more because you had a previous setup, right? And there we go. Now everything we need is now installed. Future Pinball and BAM are updated, and then now the additional files, the patched files that we need are all put in there. You have all the guides in there. You have DMDX in there. You have everything you need in there. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to do a couple extra steps that we need to do. So if you're someone who uses DMDX, you'll notice that there's no DMDX INI file in there. I don't install one just in case you happen to already have one. I don't want to overwrite your file by mistake. So if you don't have one set up at all, then you need to copy one into the Future Pinball folder. So if you have one in vPinMain from Visual Pinball that's set up, ready to go, you can copy that over into your Future Pinball folder. If you don't, then you go into the DMDX folder. I have an extra copy in here, and then you'll copy that into here. And then you'll have to edit that file. and set it up, how you need to for your setup. It's all done in here now. All right, so you'll have to go through here and enable, disable, configure, do the size, position, everything all in here, and then save the file when you're done. And then if you want to know more about how to use DMDX, well, then that's what the Future Pinball BAM Mega Guide has links for. The V Pinball, or the Pin Event V2 Guide, which is here, also has information on that. Any of my Pin Event Lite tables that are going to require that for cabinet users will also have links about that and just tell you things about that. So it's all going to be what you need is available to learn how to do that. I'm not going to do that in this video. It's way too much for this video. So the next step now is we need to install our BAM settings files. And if you look at the guide, if I remember correctly, so we just installed all our essentials files. Now we need to install our BAM settings files. So these are needed for desktop or cabinet, so that way you have good default BAM settings. Because by default, they're not set up the best or properly for most people. So what you do is, now that we've installed these files, pick the one that's good for your setup. Now, this is a desktop setup, so I'm not going to be, doing cabinet. So double click on that, and then we're going to install these files. Now, you may already have 3 on there if you had a previous setup. Now, I recommend doing this, for everyone. If you update BAM, you always reinstall these files, just in case. All right, if you got a brand new install Future Pinball, you always install those files. All right, so those are going to be our default settings for every table to use when they start up. It's extremely important you get those installed. So, yeah, and that's about it for that. So the only thing we have left is the Future Pinball settings. So if it's a new install, or if you're just updating, or if you have Baller Installer, you may already have a good setup going. If that's the case, then you may be fine. But if you're not sure, well, then what you do is you go into this folder here, the Easy Preset Files. So what we're going to do is we are going to install preset settings for Future Pinball's video settings and editor settings. You can go into the program and do these yourself manually, but this is a quick and easy way to do it automatically. So what you do is you go into this folder, you click on how to use these files, and you read the text file. It'll tell you what these files are going to do. If you have a 4K cabinet setup with a backglass and a playfield that matches those resolutions, then you would click on this. If you have an HD one that matches it according to this, then you would click and run this. Same thing for desktop. If you have a 4K desktop or an HD desktop, it tells you in here what to click on. Now, if you don't know what your resolution is, you don't know if it's 4K, 2K, 3K, whatever, then don't worry. You just click on the cabinet settings or the desktop settings, and that will do everything except for your resolution. Okay, and you can go in afterwards and just change the resolution. Okay, and we'll do that. We'll do that on here. So because I'm on a desktop, I'm going to click on that, but I'll just show you here. You also have this file in here, this picture that shows you the settings as well. Okay, there you go. So this picture here is it's basically a summary of exactly what you're going to be setting up. This is for a single screen desktop. This is for a multi-screen cabinet setup for normal Future Pinball tables. And if you're running pin event tables with pup packs only, this is what you'll be running here. And some of these settings can be changed from a front end, but you'll consult the Pin Event V2 guide for all that info, like this says here. Okay, so use this picture as a reference, when you get everything up and going and you're not sure if you set up right, and then you'll be good to go. So in my case, I'm just going to do desktop settings for 4K. Now it's going to ask you, do you want to make changes to the registry? And in this case, yes, it's totally safe. We're just changing the Future Pinball settings. That's all we're changing. And hit OK. And there we go. And that's it. We are completely set up and ready to go. You can consult the guide for more detailed information about, extra things you may need to know. But as far as getting set up, we're ready to go. All you got to do is your controls now. For your controls, I have a picture in here saying for like an Xbox One gamepad. So if you click on this, it's going to show you what you want the settings to be for that. For more info, you can read this section in the guide that tells you more about it here. And it also shows the settings in there. If you want an easy way to do that, for an Xbox One controller only, specifically a gamepad, then you can just click on this and hit yes. And then same thing, add the settings to the registry. And then boom, now our Xbox gamepad is ready to go. We don't even have to set it up. And there you go. So that's basically everything you need to be ready to go for future pinball. Obviously everyone will have their own custom settings and whatnot, but this can apply to everyone, whether you have a current setup or a brand new setup. It's all the same, and now you have the guides that you need for all the information. It's all in one single folder. Everything you need is right there. So now, as this is told you before, how to run future pinball, to run the program itself. You just follow what it says here in the guide. All right, you never run Future Pinball EXE. You only run from BAM FP Loader, and that's the only thing you ever run when you're running Future Pinball. This is BAM. This is what we need, right? So you run this, and then Future Pinball runs. And if you're not sure if you have the right settings, well, then you just bring them up. So I'm going to do this one right here. So there you go. If you take a look at this and you compare it, you're going to see that they're the same. There you go. Look at that. So see, everything's the same. Whatever's circled in green, you're allowed to change. Everything else has to match exactly. Very, very important. Now, I'm on desktop, so that's why I'm referencing this, right? And same with the editor. You want to make sure that the load image into table editor is not enabled. And there you go. All right. And the controls. Well, we set up an Xbox One controller because that's what I have plugged in. And there you go. Everything you need is all set up. You can change the nudge to the Y-axis if you want. It's not really great for analog nudge, to be honest. I just used the D-pad. For digital nudge, it just works better. And you can't use the analog triggers for anything except for a plunger or a nudge. You can't use it for flipper buttons because it's not a digital button, right? But that's about it. And if you want to add, if you have more controllers, then they would show up here, like the mouse and everything else, right? And each of them have their own separate sets of controls. And yeah, so that's it, man. That's all we needed. We're ready to go. Look at that. And then I already pre-installed the table. You can follow, again, the guide to have the Future Pinball BAM Mega Guide. If you follow this, it'll have all the info you need. It'll tell you about pin event tables. It provides links to where to get tables. My pin event tables are at all the main sites. I would highly recommend you start with those because they're fully up to date with the newest physics and newest lighting and everything else. And they look awesome. They play awesome. Definitely the ones I would start with. There's some older Ultimate Pro tables that, I have links to some of those. And then you have Pinball for Nirvana, which is kind of like the home for Future Pinball. And then you have VP Universe and VP Forums, which also have Future Pinball tables. Again, my pin event tables are on there, and then there's older tables on there as well. And then it tells you, how to install table files, where the files go. It tells you how to load a table. All sorts of detailed stuff that you need is all in here, but simply put, it's everything you need to know. And we'll just load up a table real quick. Oh, I can't do that. Hold on. That won't work. I forgot. So this is a good example of why you need to have your DPI set to 100, because that's what's going to happen. I'm on a 4K screen, right? So that's why your DPI, if it's not set to 100, it won't work. So I'm going to have to change that. So let's change that real quick. I know it's hard to see, but that's the way it is. And then I'm just going to run it from here to do it the easier way. and then do it like this. Now, if you're running on a single screen desktop, you can get around this by disabling the DPI scaling on the Future Pinball executable. That will work. In a cabinet setting, I'm not sure that's going to work for both the screens, to be honest. But it doesn't matter because in a cabinet, uh, you want DPI scaling set to 100 because if you run pub packs, it won't scale the videos and all that correctly. The positions will be off. The DMDX positioning will be off. It just messes everything up all around. Trust me, in a cabinet setting, you want your windows, all your screens to be set to 100 DPI. Now, oh, excuse me. Now, I'm just loading up a table real quick. This is a new Pin Event Lite update that I'll be releasing. And, this requires the newest BAM. It'll have the Pin Event settings file automatically installed. So that way, if you want to make any changes for any Pin Event table, they're all set in that one file. Everything you need has already been installed. If you have Doflake's tables you download install, the file will be on there for those. Everything you need now is at your fingertips in one folder. It's great, guys. Yeah, I know it takes a while. Any of these fan tilt tables always have tons of videos and they take a long time to load. And there we go. I'll just turn that down a little bit. And look at that. All ready to go. Working just fine. There you go, man. All set. Playing great, looking great. Look at that.
Greatest natural force the world has ever known.
I just shoot him. But yeah, and there you go, guys. Here, that's it. I'm not gonna go on and on about that, but and there you go. We're up and running, and that's all there is, guys. And if you're wondering what this picture is, it's a picture my oldest kid drew. It's a scene from Silent Hill 2. I'm a big Silent Hill fan, and so there you go. That's my wallpaper. So anyways, that's it, guys. I don't want to go any more into detail than that. If you have any more questions, consult the Pin Event V2 guide, or sorry, the Future Pinball BAM Mega Guide. There's a ton of stuff in here. It's got a FAQ at the end to answer most questions. There's also the Pin Event V2 guide. If you're running any Pin Event tables, that's got all the information you're going to need. If you download any Pin Event table, there's going to be install instructions and a manual with each table. Follow those. That will also show you how to do what we just did in this video. It's going to do the same thing. So yeah, all this info is at your fingertips, man. All of it is. And it's easy to reference. The links you need are all in here. It's all in here, guys. You got the FAQ at the end, which answers almost all your main questions, guys. Before going on the forums and asking questions, go back to this guy here. That's usually where you'll get most of the answers. And if you can't get the answers from him, if I can, it's kind of hard for me to see here. You can also get it from the Pin Event V2 guide. And yeah, so if you have any questions about Pin Event V2 tables, this is the one to go to as well. And it's also included. All the info is in there. Everything you need. It's all there, guys. So that's it. That's all I wanted to say. Enjoy, guys. If you're having problems with a setup, do what we did in this video from beginning to end in order, and then you should be fine. And then if you're having more specific needs, go to the guides. And if you still have a problem there, then go to the forums and the groups and ask for help. So yeah, everything you need here, guys. Love it. Enjoy some awesome Future Pinball stuff. Later. Bye.